So we were disappointed with the Ray Blaster's performance, and it's such a cool shell that it definitely deserves an overhaul. Let's upgrade it. Mod Guide, go! Alright, so we're going to do the breakdown for the Ray Blaster before we do all of our modifications to it. To start with, there are a few interesting facets. So these two screws come out of the handle, kind of like a broomstick handle here, but then you'll note that this piece falls off the back. This piece kind of pushes off the top, completely hollow on the inside, and so that's going to be really easy. I think I'll do a paint job with this modification, turn it into a prop blaster, because that's sweet. I've done that for Destiny stuff in the past, so these break off very easily, just awesome stuff for painting. Also breaking off easily, you take two of these screws out of the front, and then this piece slides off like so. And now let's take a first look at our internals. Of note, the slide does come off, but not organically, so we're going to have to butterfly it before we ever do anything with that. So speaking of butterflying it, we're going to flip it open. You can see there is a retainer screw there. Mine is actually primed. Now, I would never ever recommend taking apart a blaster when it is primed and ready to fire, but mine was jammed kind of in a very strange way. So I'm actually going to try and disengage this locking mechanism so that we can fire that dart through. And now we can really get at it. So we've got the torsion spring here that controls the lips of the clip inside, so that, or the magazine, the built-in Nerf magazine clip, whatever you want to call it, so that you feed through there. This is a purely aesthetic piece. This is a purely aesthetic piece, so we can set all that aside for painting. Now, I'm really interested in how the internals are going to work. So just like the Magnus before, this is a huge pain to get out, but we can take the entire, that's fascinating, the way that this barrel is breaking. We can get at the entire magazine that's integrated without too much trouble. So there's a torsion spring in here holding this down. I want to get these darts out of here so that we don't have to worry about them anymore. So we're just going to push those out through the feed lips, which you can see now. One torsion spring holds all of that together. And so set aside our special Star Wars darts. We have this part of the plunger that we can work with later. I don't think that we're going to modify this at all. There's a world where I could make this smaller to fit an extra dart, but I don't think that that's worth it for the moment. So this is our almost slide sled here, which actuates the back of this to push this down so that we have a dart door to shove into. But this is the trigger mechanism, this is the integrated catch, and then this is what we're really interested in, which is our floating plunger head. Floating because there's no plunger rod in here. You can kind of hear it, but it's just a floating plunger head that locks into this. Now, this is ridiculous. No wonder the performance on this blaster is so weird. The spring on it is absolutely obnoxious. We've got tight coils, wide coils, a tapering in the middle, and very little force. So I'm going to try finding an adequate replacement spring. I'll let you know what I choose, and then down here, if I need to, I can also modify our catch spring. There might be a couple of locks in here to remove, but I'll get to that next. Anyway, that's a full breakdown of the internals of the Ray Blaster, so you know exactly what you're working with. If you need to put yours back together, you can just do this in reverse. So at this point, I have tentatively decided what I'm going to remove. I'm going to set that aside for starters, but I'm going to be removing this and this so that I can get the slide off for a clean paint job. I'm going to do the same thing on the reverse here. I have found a suitable spring replacement. This is a standard N-Strike Retaliator spring, and it's almost the same length, not quite, but it has a lot more force than the original spring, and I think it's going to suit our purposes nicely. I might try doubling it up, but if I double it up, I'm going to have to work on the catch too. So we'll see how I feel about that, but that's what I'm going with tentatively. And then I will be removing this entire block of locking mechanisms. It's all designed to make sure that the slide is either fully primed before you load things or what have you, and I don't think that it's going to be necessary. It's not like it's holding anything back. You can see when fully slid back, it's not holding anything, and then when coming forward, it locks this back up into place. So that's to prevent you from doing what's called a half prime, where you prime like this, and without going all the way back, you maybe tuck one dart in and try to load. That's only ever going to really cause you problems, and so I'm going to remove the entire apparatus, and I will also probably be removing this locking mechanism down here. It's the trigger lock, prevents you from pulling the trigger to do the catch, and I just slung springs everywhere because this is not held together with a screw system. It's just kind of sandwiched in between the pieces of pale plastic. So I'm going to recover those pieces, remove this one, and get to work. So I couldn't resist painting the ray blaster, which meant doing the whole 9 yards. So I drilled out all of the little faux holes in the orange tip, and I will be painting the orange tip since I intend to use this as a prop replica that's functional, as opposed to a Nerf blaster for like a Nerf war out in public. So these have been drilled out. I think it's going to lend a very nice and subtle touch to the end product. And then of course, anybody who doesn't sand off all of the logos on and labeling and warnings on their blasters is just kind of lazy. I make some exceptions in my work, like I'm keeping the Star Wars logo because it's sweet, just like I usually keep the Nerf logo on Nerf themed projects. So keeping that, but obviously we did not need like Attention all over the back here, and then I didn't need the fun warning on this side either. So I've dremeled those down. Now I'm going to sand them very lightly with some jeweler's sandpaper to even it out, as well as clean up some of these dremeled out holes. And then I'm going to apply a base coat of vinyl dye to this before we do some silver to give it that really cool gunmetal feel. So after a full disassembly and paint job to more or less movie accurate specs, I've gone ahead and started reassembling the blaster. Now, I wanted to make a segment saying that this is Orange ModWorks silicone grease. You can use lithium grease or really any kind of silicone grease. The Danco stuff is also fine. You can grab it at Home Depot. And I'm putting that all over the slide because even though this is vinyl dye and enamel, I don't want it to just be constantly grating and scraping against itself. So before I lock these pieces on, I greased all those, and then I'm actually going to re-grease the plunger tube as well as this trigger mechanism. I'm not going to do anything to the feeding clip inside, but I think that that'll be fine. You can see that the handle and even this piece I went ahead and coated with black vinyl dye. So the only orange in this is going to be the trigger. I left that orange for two reasons. One, it's a moving part, and I don't want to necessarily paint it so that it scrapes off and then looks terrible later. And then two, I wanted to leave some orange on this that could easily be covered up in photographs by just putting your finger through the trigger that still indicates that it's like a toy if it's sitting on a shelf or something, so nobody picks it up and thinks like, oh, black and silver, this is a gun. Alright, so these are the internals completely stripped of all of the locking mechanisms. It should be very streamlined. I kept the dart tooth and all those in the magazine themselves, but I stripped all of this out. I took this out because it no longer does anything since there's no release to disengage. I didn't have to do anything to the catch spring, but I want to talk briefly about why the weird spring is the weird spring. So the reason that this is tapered here is so that it doesn't interfere with the catch mechanism. So to accommodate for that, in my retaliator spring here, you can see that I came in with some pliers and I kind of mooshed them in such a way that they will now, these few coils here are also tapered and cannot interfere with the way that the catch was working. When I threw it in stock, it wouldn't catch. So this is my solution. Now it's catching great. I've got these pieces painted and ready to go, and so I think it's time to seal this up, but it should be hitting much harder now and performing a lot nicer. Hey guys, so it's raining, but this is my final video segment on the Star Wars Ray Blaster. Now, we went to see the movie for a second time at the matinee, and I determined that this was pretty much what it looked like. It was silver with black paneling. Then we found an image of a trading card online, so we drilled out all these holes, we added a little bit of blue to the barrel, and overall the blaster is not only performing much smoother, but also like hitting a lot harder, and it looks like a movie accurate prop. So I would not be surprised if a lot of other people did this exact set of modifications for their costumes or their cosplays, because I think that Rey is going to be very popular this cosplay season, and I'm looking forward to seeing a bunch of cute girls in Rey's Jakku outfit. But that is now Elite style performance. I can't get modified Elite performance out of this, but it is getting Elite performance, which means that we're probably shooting about 65 to 70 FPS now, and the overall chambering and operation of the blaster is much smoother without any of the locks in place. You can see that I lightly painted the front here. I've greased everything with some silicone grease, and everything is very smooth. I did leave the trigger orange. I'm not sure if that was the right call or not. Time will tell, but the separation of the pieces made the paint job really clean and easy, and the overall look and feel of the blaster is just awesome. I think that this is like a full-on functional prop, which is what I've done with Destiny in the past, and people have really enjoyed that. So I am really excited about this blaster. I think that this mod guide was great. It was easy. The paint job wasn't too bad. This is of course some aluminum colored enamel, and then this is just regular black vinyl dye on both the handle and here, and then this is some kind of blend of neon paints, but not super duper important. Was very easy to tape off. Leaving the Star Wars logo is definitely the right call, and then there was a little bit of black dusted into the aluminum so that it kind of has a worn feel, because obviously if it was sitting around in Han's backpack or whatever forever, it's not going to be in perfect shape. This didn't just come from Galactic Blasters R Us. So this is Ray's blaster, the Jakku blaster. It is a functional Nerf modification. It fires in Elite style performance, which is to say that it'll max out at a range of about 60 to 70 feet at an angle, and then flat shots are going to be about 45 to 50. But it's solid performance. It's way better than it was, and it looks awesome. I hope you guys like it too, because it was a lot of fun to make. Thanks for watching. Hey, maybe I should do Han's blaster next. What do you guys think? Let me know. Sad day. So the Draculina has told me that she does not want to cosplay Rey, and I don't think that I am quite pretty enough to crossplay Rey. So I will be putting this up on eBay. Hopefully somebody who wants to cosplay Rey will pick it up, or somebody who just wants to be Rey at a Nerf war. But I am selling this on eBay. You guys can help me eat while I'm in New York for the toy fair, and I appreciate you taking a look at it if it's something that you're interested in. All of my auctions start at 99 cents, so it'll be super duper fair. Just whatever you guys think it's worth is what it'll sell for. Thanks for watching.